Hey everyone, so what we're going to take a look at today are one-step equations with subtraction. And I'm going to break this down into a number of different videos. But what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what this looks like when the variable is here, 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 and here. Because sometimes that can be just enough to throw us when we're expecting the variable to be in one spot and then all of a sudden it's in the other spot. And it's like, well, what do we do? And I just found with a number of the other videos that I saw online to try and, show my kids how to do this and have like really good worksheets and stuff, it was just like, oh, just do the opposite, just do the opposite. And it was really, I didn't find anything that like broke it down into, but when it's here or here or here or here, because sometimes it works easier in one spot than another spot. So that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to take a look in a number of different videos. How do we do this when X is in one spot versus another spot? So we're going to start with X minus 5 equals 2. This is our first equation. So let's take a look. X minus 5 equals 2. What this is saying, like let's think this through. Because again, I don't enjoy math. And so I really have to work at making sure that this makes sense. This stuff is hard, right? And so for me, anytime I approach something that is kind of challenging, I have to try and visualize, like, what is this asking me? So this is saying that there's something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to take away 5 and I'm going to wind up with 2. And you don't have to do this for every question, but I think you need to do this on the questions that you're like, I don't know actually what I need to do. Try and visualize it. Like, to me, this makes more sense as like a non-math loving person. This is what I would need to do, to be like, okay, there's some number, that's the variables, something. Taking away 5, I'm going to wind up with 2. So what this shows me is that in order to actually figure out this something, this is worth 5, okay, this is worth 5. If I add 2 and 5 together, I should figure out what that something means. So let's do that. We need to then use addition. We're going to count up. So remember, the opposite of subtraction is addition. So let's do this. My goal, in order to try and figure out what X is I need to get whatever numbers are near X away from X. Because then once X is on its own, then it's clear that's what X is. In theory, I could move X, but I'm just going to move the number. So I need to get rid of 5. And here's the tricky part, is in the last couple of videos, if I had something like X plus 2 equals 5, I'm like, I'm going to get rid of the 2. And I would use subtraction to get rid of it. And so you might be thinking, I'm going to use subtraction. I'm going to get rid of it, because to get rid of sounds like subtraction. But the odd thing is that because it's negative, I have to do the opposite. Well, it's subtraction, sorry. I have to do the opposite, which is addition. So to get rid of this, I have to add it. That's super confusing. For somebody who doesn't love math, you're like, it's like, so to get rid of my garbage, I'm going to add garbage. Like, that's what my sassy mind would be saying. It makes no sense, but kind of does, because let's say you have a bathtub. And let's say it's minus 5 degrees and you want it to be 0. To get rid of it, to make it 0, you'd have to add 5. You'd have to go up 5 degrees to make it 0. So if you think about it in terms of like integers, it just might make sense. So I need to remove this number. I have to get rid of it. So to take it away, oddly enough, to take away, I'm going to add. Trust me, I feel your pain. This is very confusing stuff. So I need this gone. So the opposite of minus 5 is plus 5. So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to cross it off and I'm going to go plus 5. Okay? I have to, on this side though, do the exact same thing. Whatever's on this side of the equal sign, I have to do on this side of the equal sign. So I'm going to go plus 5. And have my equal sign in here. And then actually I'm going to put my equal sign in here. So let's now figure out what is 2 plus 5. 2 plus 5 is 7. I'm good at that. So 5, negative 5, I'm going to add 5, brings it up to 0, right? Like I owe someone $5, then I give them $5. I'm even 0, right? So 0. So what that's saying then is once I've gotten rid of those numbers, then all I have is my letter. So x equals 7 in this case. But I don't know if I'm right or not. And as much as I don't love math. I do love this part of math, is being able to check my answer. Because sometimes you do math and you can't always necessarily check unless like you've got a ruler or a compass or something, who knows. Or not a compass, what do you call that? Protractor. So x minus 5 equals 2. In this case, I'm going to just take my answer and I'm going to put it back in, because in theory, I've just figured out what x is, which means that I should know what this x is because it's the same question. So if I take my number and I come over here, and instead of x, I write in 7 minus 5. Now I'm just going to do my math. 7 minus 5 is 2. 2 equals 2. When my answer equals my answer, I know I'm correct. I know I've solved it correctly, because this is worth this. It's like saying 1 apple is worth 1 apple. It is. If I had a different number, if I had like 3, then I'd know that I did this incorrectly, which is actually kind of nice, because as much as this can be frustrating, as long as you can figure out if you did it right or wrong, you don't have to like it, but at least you know you get it, that's all our goal is right now, is making sure that this makes sense. So let me just show you one more time how this works. So x minus 5 equals 2. So x minus 5 equals 2. All right, let's look at this one more time. Something taking away 5 brings me to 2. So I need to figure out what the something is. So to get this something, I need something on its own. I'm going to put all my numbers on this side. But to do that, I need to do the opposite of what is there. So if it says take away 5, I'm going to add 5, right? The opposite of take away is add. Okay, the opposite of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to take my add, I'm going to keep my number, and then I'm good to go. They cancel themselves out, right? Like I owe 5, I'm giving 5, I'm bringing myself up to 0, right? Like I started at negative 5, I'm working my way up to 0. And I got 2, but I got to add 5. Printing's terrible. 2 and 5 equals 7. X, I'm just going to bring down here because negative 5 plus 5 cancels itself out, makes itself 0. So x is equal to 7. Now, you might have a teacher that wants you to write it like this, where it's like x minus 5 plus 5 equals 2 plus 5. You're welcome to do that, and that looks really mathematical, and that's fabulous. But if you're really struggling to get the idea of this, I would say just start with what I'm showing you. Just cross off, scratch off. At least get to step 1. Once you're at step 1, you're welcome to move ahead to this other stuff and write it in a way that maybe it looks more mathematical. But if none of this is even making sense, then let's at least get to that point where you're like, oh, okay, yep, cross off 5. I'm going to add my 5, I'm going to add my 5, and maybe write it underneath like that. And as long as that gets you to the next step, then we're making progress, and it's starting to sink in what it is that we have to do with this equation. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to do these other ones. So it's still one-step equations, but x is going to be in a different spot. And based on where it is, it might feel more or less comfortable. So there we are. Good luck. I'll see you in the next video.